Okay,
But
then,
the case-
Catherine, even if this wasn't, even this wasn't a big blow to Jack Smith, right now Donald Trump's strongest defense is to delay. Does this do all but guarantee that the March 4th date won't happen?
Oh, it's not happening. It's not happening in March.
Just got a one-sentence order without any recorded vote or explanation. They have denied Jack Smith's request for immediate consideration of the claim that Donald Trump should be immune from criminal prosecution for interfering with the 2020 election, trying to disenfranchise millions of voters. The special counsel Jack Smith had laid out a case for why it was compelling for the Supreme Court to decide this sooner rather than later. And just a second ago, the Supreme Court denied it, again, with no recorded vote or explanation. It means that this case now stays in a lower appellate court. It could take now months before it gets back to the Supreme Court. It means that the trial of Donald Trump that was supposed to start March 4th certainly will not start on March 4th.
The party who was asking the Supreme Court to do something unusual here was Jack Smith. He was saying, we want to skip the Court of Appeals, which now will not happen. The next step will be the Court of Appeals. But Jack Smith was saying, we want to skip the Court of Appeals and have you, Supreme Court, take this case immediately. And if you're going to make that request, legally, you, Jack Smith, bear the burden of explaining specifically why there's a need for speed here. Jack Smith, because he has been unwilling and remains unwilling to acknowledge that he wants to try this case before the election, instead was left, if you look at his briefs, to argue these sort of vague generalities about speed is good and delay is bad and public interest. But he never says, because we need to get this in before the election. And in his brief, Donald Trump's lawyers attack that. They say all that Jack Smith has offered up here is generalities that would apply to any case. They do not offer a specific reason. Brianna, as you say, we don't know the exact reason why the Supreme Court has turned this down for now, but it is really important to keep in mind. The next step here will be the Court of Appeals. Donald Trump lost his immunity argument at the district court, the trial court. He will now get to go to the Court of Appeals. That will take a few weeks. As Evan said, they've set a very quick briefing schedule, and then the Supreme Court might take it then. This does not mean the Supreme Court will never take this case. It just means they're going to have the Court of Appeals take it first. And I think what this does, as Evan said, this makes the March 4th trial date almost impossible to hold. I think this means that trial date's going to be pushed back, perhaps substantially.
And what's so bizarre and surreal about this setting, Harry, is that it is zero sum in that, like, literally the number of minutes are a finite amount and they're on the board. And the job of Trump's lawyers is just to eat as many of those. So every day that they wake up and they gobble some of those minutes off the board and days off the board, like, that's a win. And they're going to have a whole bunch of bites at it, right? There's going to be a whole bunch of ways between now and that first day of an actual trial and then a verdict that they are going to keep taking those bites.
Oh, it's not happening. It's not happening in March 4th.
It means that the trial of Donald Trump that was supposed to start March 4th certainly will not start on March 4th.